Hello and hello friends. Today we're gonna work on some pictures on Lightroom, but we're not gonna work on my pictures. I put some posts on Facebook as well as Reddit, and I got some people giving me their pictures to work on it. So thanks to Holly from Reddit, as well as Bruno and Ludo on Facebook that gave me some of their raw pictures. So I'm gonna try to do my best, but don't forget, there is not only one way to correct pictures, there are many ways to do it. So first of all, a picture from Bruno, a nice bubble coral shrimp on a bubble coral. The first thing we have to check for the problems. So for the problem on this one, as you can see on the histogram here, it's overexposed and we're gonna have to work on that first. Second of all, the subject is right in the middle. I like the fact that it's hidden in the bubble corals and that we see how small it is, but probably I will crop it a little bit to have a nicer composition. The basic correction can be always started with autotone. So I just click autotone and we can see here that the subject is much nicer. We do Ctrl Z to go back. You see everything is white. Of course, I can do pretty much the same by moving the cursors, but autotone is always a good help because in one click, I'm gonna get something that I can start working on. So it's not perfect, we're still gonna work on it, but it's much better. Now let's do crop. So crop would be R. So what do we have? Here, maybe we want to get the subject closer to one of the intersections here. So probably like this, maybe a little bit less. Here we go. And I think it's already nicer because we have the subject not completely placed in the center and it still looks very small compared to the bubble coral. Here we have a big scratch. I don't like it. So I'm just gonna erase it like this with a spot removal. And now I think the color is a little bit too green. So we can start with this tint and I add a little bit of magenta and maybe I warm the picture up a little bit. But now we have a little bit less contrast than we had, so either I can add contrast here. I can do actually, it's okay. But I can also lower the shadow a little bit and you can see the histogram is moving to the left. Next we can go on saturation, add a little saturation, and we also can change the colors here with hue. So the green, probably we want to change it a little. So if we go completely to the right, it's very green, but if we go to the left, it makes it more yellow. The blue, there is not so much. It's changing here a little bit. So actually I prefer to keep it a little bit more blue than it was. And we can change the yellow. So not on the green side, but more on the orange side. With a Y, I can see what it was before and what it is right now. So big difference. Y again to go back. As we can see here in the details, we don't have problem with noise. And actually when we click on the picture, it's the same, it's okay. So we don't need noise reduction and the subject is very sharp, so we don't need to sharpen it either. Maybe we'll add a little vignetting. Let's get the picture a little bit smaller. We don't want to overdo it, but the good thing about it is that it's getting our subject a little bit brighter and we focus more, the eye focuses more on the subject. Why again to see the difference? I think it's much better. Do we need to spend more time? Probably. Especially one of the good things to work on the pictures is to do it in a few times. So you correct it today the way you like, and then tomorrow you can go back on it and, you know, like tweak it a little bit to make it a little bit better. Right now, I like what I've done, so I'm not gonna do it right away because I'm not gonna change much. But if I go on it maybe tomorrow or the day after, then I will see things that I don't like so much anymore, and I will be able to correct it better. That was for picture number 1. Number 2, very nice Mandarin fish. On this one, what is the problem? We don't have so many problems. The color of the fish is really nice, and the position is quite okay. We have quite some space in front of the fish and way less in the back, so it's good. Unfortunately, the fish is not looking at us a little bit more, like this angle would have been a little bit nicer, but we cannot work on that. So I'm just gonna try to enhance the fish a little, get it a little bit more shiny, and at the opposite, I'm gonna try to get the background less disturbing. It's not a bad background, but there is nothing very interesting on. Many times, the Mandarin fish like to live on corals and also on dead corals. And that's what we have around here. So it's okay, but it's not the nicest and the most colorful thing. So I'm gonna crop it a little, not so much, and I'm gonna change a little bit the angle. Do I want it to look up like this? Or to look down? Or to be straight? Well, this is a question of preference. I think I like it like this better. There is still enough space in the front. The background is very blurry, so which is quite good because it's not annoying so much. The main issue for me is with this one. So let's try an auto tone like we've done before. And wow, our subject is popping much nicer. Let's try a little correction here to see if we can get rid of this backscatter. Yeah, it seems okay. And then we have a few more that we could correct. Maybe here, this little thing here. Maybe this, that, and that's about it.
Back to go back, I'm gonna get a little bit bigger here. Okay. This one I don't like, and this little thing either.
The reason I'm correcting this, no, it doesn't work. This part, I'm probably gonna have to paint over it. So I'm gonna use the adjustment brush, which would be K. And I'm gonna brush on it a little bit. To see what's selected, you can press O. And I'm gonna remove some highlight and white. And even shadow as well. A little bit less. It's still there, but we can see it a little bit less than before. Let's try some. Here it's called graduated filter. The shortcut is M, and we can start from here, and we're gonna try to get it a little bit darker. So we can start with exposure a little, actually quite a lot, -126, and we can get rid also of some of the white. Here we go. So the reason for this, once again, is to try to get this as little distracting as possible. So in this area, we're gonna use this one, the adjustment brush. So K again, select this area. With O, we can see what we selected. So none of the fish is selected. So it's okay, fit, press O again, and now we can again lower, but this time we're going to try to lower the white, the shadow, and the highlights. Okay, so let's do a Y to see before and after. So we still have our subject that is much brighter, but the front is a little darker. So now we can focus on the subject a little bit more. Why? To get out of it. Now vignetting could be a good option. So we're gonna add a little vignetting to the image. And now we can definitely see that the animal is here, but the rest way less. All of it made us have a little bit dark picture right now. So maybe I can expose a little bit more, maybe like this. And if we wanted, we could select the fish. Oh, to see what we did. Okay. We can do Alt and remove some of it because we really only want the fish to be affected and not the background. Here on top, remove little. Here and there as well. Okay. Oh, to get out. And now what we can do is just higher the exposure a little. Maybe the contrast as well. Maybe not so much. And then a little bit highlight. A little bit white. And lower the darks. Let's get out of it. So now we see that the subject is much brighter and the background is way less disturbing. Now we could decide to get rid of a few dots that are too white and get our attention. And like this, we don't have anything that is getting our attention except the fish. Okay, why? To see the difference, you can see that the fish is much brighter, much more colorful, and the background is still a little bit dark and not annoying so much. Well, I think it's quite okay. So let's go to the next picture. Nice Rhinopia. This one is from Ludo. So the problems on this picture, it's a lot of backscatter. Unfortunately, Lightroom is not the best option to get rid of backscatter. Backscatter, you can take it out much better with Photoshop, for example. So if you have the whole suite, then you want to go on your Photoshop and do the backscatter removal there. Another problem with this picture, the composition is really nice. I will probably not touch it, or just slightly. I really like the positioning on the lower third of the Rhinopia. I think the problem is it's a little bit too green. Everything is green, especially the background that shouldn't be as green. It's probably more like brown or even bluer. And another problem is this area that is lit too much. The animal as well is lit a little bit too much, but in comparison, it's not a problem by itself. But here, this piece of dead coral and those brown things are taking my eyes so much off the subject. So first I'm gonna do auto tone like always. In this case it doesn't work, it makes it even more yellow. So Ctrl Z to go back. And I'm gonna try to do manual white balance. So you can see here you have to click on W and then the selector will come and you can choose a part of the picture. You can see here in the navigator that you have the picture the way it is right now, and now it's changing depending on where I put my cursor. So you want to pick a neutral target. You see in the bottom of the small squares you have R, G and B. You want those numbers to be as close as possible to each other, and then it will do a good correction. For me, in this one, now it's at 45, 40 and 25. They're not all close to each other so much, but when I look on the top left corner, I can see that the image is really much nicer that way. Now we probably have a little bit too much blue, so I'm gonna warm up the picture. Once again, white balance and auto tone are not the solution, but it's a start. So I had this picture that was really yellow and not the way I wanted, and now I can have something much better. Okay, so now I can work on it, and also you see that the animal is less bright than it was, so it's not annoying anymore. Now it's a little bit too blue probably, so I'm gonna warm up the picture a little and maybe a little bit magenta. Now we can try to crop a little, so crop from the top, but maybe as well crop a little from the bottom to get rid of this bottom that we don't like so much. If I try to get my eye on the third line, I have a lots of space in the front that is not so interesting, so I think it's not the best way. Maybe like this. I'm not using the third rule. There is not one way to crop your picture. For me, that's the way it looks the best, even though the eye is in dead middle. But the shape of the fish, the attitude and everything makes it better, and I wanted to get rid of some of the problems from the bottom. So now we're gonna try to darken the bottom and probably the top as well. So once again, we go on this one. So graduated filter with an M, start from the bottom, click and hold and release. The lowest part will be corrected a lot, this one just a little bit. I can try with exposure a little, and also I try to remove some white and some highlight. Once again, the purpose of this one is to try to get rid of the bottom that is really annoying. Okay, I can validate. M again to start and do it from the top now. A little bit less exposure. Remove highlights. White, there is almost none, but still we take it out. And even some shadows. Okay. Now I can take off a few of those spots here, the ones that are showing
too much. Okay, I'm not gonna do a whole spot removal, but at least I'm gonna take out some of the one that show on the picture, and by doing so, I'm gonna get rid of the distraction. I can get it smaller now.
So you see, I'm not spending tons of time on it, I'm just roughly doing it. And of course, if it was a picture that I wanted to print, maybe I would go on Photoshop or even do it on Lightroom like this, one at a time.
Okay, so
this one maybe is really a problem, and this thing as well. Okay, and this. Okay, now we have less issues on the top. The bottom is still brighter, but this we're gonna try to do it. This we're gonna try to do it with M. So from the side, maybe more. If you see, if you grab here, you can turn it a little. And I want it to be a little bit more like this. I can take this area. So maybe like this. And same again, I'm gonna remove white, highlights, and little bit shadows. Actually, lots of shadows as well. And then I will do the same on the right side. And M to escape. So you can see with the Y that the color of the animal is very different. It was a little bit brighter before, so we may want to add a little bit brightness to the subject, but we don't have the green problem or the yellow problem from before, and the foreground is not as disturbing as it was. So we're getting somewhere. Now we can just pick with K or by clicking here, and I'm gonna select my animal. And I'm gonna try to, with O to see what I have, okay. Alt, click to remove this part, which is not the fish. This one either. And okay. O again, and now I will try just to get a little bit more highlights. A little bit more white, lower the blacks to get more contrast, and the shadows up a little. Okay, I think it's nicer. Now we can see that the subject pops really nicely. And now we're gonna go once again on vignetting. Noise, do we have a noise problem? Maybe we're gonna try to remove the noise a little bit. Okay, we go on 13 here to remove some of the noise. The picture is very sharp anyways. We can see from the eye and from the shape, and it's still sharp now. So now we're gonna go on vignetting and do some vignetting. Here we go. So why before and after? So all of the background and the foreground that was not interesting is now much darker, and the fish color is probably closer to reality. Maybe I will add a little orange to it. So I will go on U and change a little bit the red color. You see, if I go there, it's horrible. But if I go there, I get back the orange that was on the picture. Unfortunately, I was not there on that day because I love those animals anyways. But maybe it was more, a little bit more orange like it is now. Okay, now I still have this little area that I think a little bit too bright, and we're gonna be quite okay. So I'm gonna darken this a little and also take off some white. Okay, some of you will say it's a little bit painting, but it's mainly trying to get the attention on my subject. And I think when you do the Y, before and after, you can really see that it's much different, and personally I like it much better. Next one, okay, picture from Bruno, and this one we really have a problem with one side being overexposed and one side being very dark. I think we have lots of the picture here on the left and on the right that is not really useful. Yes, we see the foot, is it a foot or the leg? Well, both, of the frogfish, but it's not very nice. You also have burned areas here. We don't have too many burned areas, only here. I do it on clicking here. But it's really white, and it's not the color of the fish. It's more because of the strobe one side and not on the other. So on this picture, I'm gonna try to crop it and actually get it on portrait. Yes, I'm gonna lose the foot of the animal, but everything else is not so interesting. And I'm just gonna keep it on a portrait with one dark side and the other side lit properly. I'm gonna move it a little bit more that way. Yeah. And that's probably what I want. So yes, I'm cropping a lot on the picture, but I think it's much nicer. Let's try an auto tone to see. It's helping me quite a lot. It's removing some of the burned areas here, but I'm gonna do it more by removing white a lot, actually all of it. Shadow also. I don't have a problem with this part being all black. When you take pictures, you have to take decisions on what you want to do. Here the strobe was really on one side of the subject, when if you have only one strobe, it's much better to put it above the camera and little bit on the side. Like this, you don't have that problem of one side being very dark. But you can see some land picture with one side of the subject being very dark. And it's actually a choice. It can be done in purpose. I'm not sure it was on this one, but it could be. And it's very interesting to have one side of the subject lit and the other one being completely in the shadow. Can have some meaning to it and all. But now I have this part that is really distracting, as well as this. Maybe this, but it's part of the animal, this little thing. And I'm mainly gonna try to correct it to the good exposure and get the rest even darker a little bit. So once again, I can go on K with my brush. I can try to get this area as well as this one. I do O to see what I selected, a little bit on top as well. Here. Maybe the bottom part I shouldn't do it at the same time. The top left and the bottom left are close, and I think they need to be corrected at once. But probably the bottom right, I will need to correct it differently. The reason being, if I darken this area, then it's gonna darken this one and it's gonna clip the blacks. I press O to go to the real subject. Now I'm gonna remove a little exposure, actually a lot, 1.6. I'm gonna get rid of all of the highlights, shadows, and whites. And black just a tiny bit. I mean, tiny bit, minus 35. Some people would say it's already a lot. And I think it's helping our subject. You see the Y? You see now the subject is not completely burned, and we don't have the distraction of this part. Here I have a little problem. I didn't do it properly. Oops, no, it's a little too much. Do O. Oops, Control Z. Alt. I'm gonna remove some of this. And I can add a little here. You see, by clicking on this dot, I was able to add some correction, while if I didn't, I would have started a new layer kind of. So O, and now this part a little bit is too red from it. Yeah, that's probably what I want. Okay. Okay, again. Now I have this little thing here that is annoying, so I'm just gonna get rid of it like this. Maybe one of those here. And now we're gonna try to work on this area. Okay. And I'm just gonna change the white a little. Okay. I will do a little vignetting. And personally, I like it better. I'm gonna make it a little bit warmer. And I have the little problem with this bubble on top. Okay. So let's see the Y before and after. I think it's much more interesting. I don't know if I should get rid of this or not. I think the answer is yes. Yes. I think it's much more interesting like this than the way it was. So I'm quite happy with this. Once again, it's a question of preference. Some people won't like it, but personally I think it's very interesting. Next. Oh, very nice seahorse. Okay. I like to give space in front of the animal and actually above the head as well. And I really think on this one, all of this area here on the right is a waste. I would have loved to have more space on the left and less on the right. So we're gonna have to start by cropping a little, actually quite a lot. And you see here now we still have the same space in front of the seahorse and on top of it, but we get rid of all of the problems from the back. So now I'm gonna get this a little bit darker, especially the bottom. So gradual filter with M, and I'm gonna select this area, and I'm gonna get it with less white, less highlight, and a little bit less shadow. It's not a little bit. Do I want it to be dark? A little, but not so much. Okay. So now the subject is here. A little bit annoying white dot. This picture is from Holly actually, and the one from Reddit. Thanks to him again. I hope he's gonna like the changes on his pictures.
Okay, this first. Okay, this is better. Oh, come on. Okay. It was better in 2 steps. Still not perfect, but much better. I have a problem with this one now.
Okay, now the subject is nicer. Let's try an autotone. Yeah! Much more colorful. Vibrance went up 15. Let's reduce it a little. Now the subject pops up much nicer. In one click it made a very big difference. So what happened is it removed highlight, shadow up, white up, and black down. So it made more contrast. For the color, yes, a little bit less, no, yeah, a little bit less magenta maybe. Let's go on vignette. It seems to have quite a lot of noise on this picture. So we're gonna remove some of the noise. It's not a problem because it was quite sharp to start with. You can see the eye of the animal is really sharp, but the background is a little bit noisy. So maybe we can go up to 18. It's not affecting so much and it's still cool. It's a little bit too green. So let's try to put some vignetting now.
Okay, and I have a few things.
Okay, I think it's, when you see the Y before and after, I don't think we need to work more on this picture because the algae surrounding look natural and you don't want to darken it too much. The subject pops really nicely and I think it's much nicer than it was. Maybe we can just try to, okay, Alt to remove. When you do this, it's better to take off a little bit too much of the animal than have more on the outside. It will show way less because I'm gonna try to brighten the animal a little bit, and if it's bright as well on the background, it's gonna look very bad. I'm not gonna change exposure, I'm more gonna add some white. Warm up a little bit, like this it's a little bit more yellow. And a little bit shadow. And I think it's nicer. Let's see, before and after. Yeah, I think it's much nicer. We could darken the surrounding a little bit more and brighten the subject again, but I think the subject pops quite nicely. We lost a little bit of the blurry of the surrounding, which would have been nice, but maybe we can remove some of the vibrance. And maybe, no, I think like this it's fine. You see the animal is brighter and more colorful, and it's quite interesting. Maybe a couple of more pictures. A nice scorpionfish, and here what do we have? Oh, an isopod. So this picture is all red, and I think even though the animal is probably red, one of the issue was it was lit with a red light. I think that's what happened. So it's quite interesting, but I think it shouldn't be that way. You can see the sand here is all red, and I can reset as much as I want. It's the original picture. So I think now the eye is in dead middle, and we have all of this area that is blurry, but in front of the animal we have absolutely no space. So I'm probably gonna try to crop some of the image and lose some of the part that was not so interesting before. Now we have a problem with this all red thing. You can see all of this red. Maybe saturation, lower the reds. And now it becomes a black and white picture. So let's see. let's say for the sake of this tutorial that we're gonna think that this change in color was done in purpose. Okay, so we're gonna get rid of this red part here in the very bottom. So M, and we select here, and we're just gonna get rid of whites, highlights, get it more green, to get rid of the magenta, a bit more blue, and even shadow, and no, not the blacks. Okay. The eye is super sharp, it's really, really nice. And even the eye support right here is quite cool. Maybe I want to go, you see, by removing some magenta, I'm helping the right side of the picture, but it's causing problems on the left. So probably I can do again a filter like this, and now get rid of some of this magenta. Let's see a before and after. You see, this part was all pink and now it's more yellow, but still this part of the picture is about the same. Maybe a little vignetting to get rid of this horrible area here. And I'm not gonna work on the colors too much because it's quite interesting that way. Next time I should ask people that give me the pictures to give me a few words on the pictures and tell me. Let's try a Y before and after. I think it's okay. Now we can really concentrate on the animal. This is annoying, but not so bad. Now we can really concentrate on the eye, which is the main subject, and the shape of the animal, its mouth and everything. The eye support is much more of the color it should be.
Maybe I'm gonna remove a few dots. This one was the most annoying.
Okay, I think it's better. We see the before and after. Next one, a nice nudibranch. It's a chromodoris something, I guess. Let's get rid of this dot first. Okay. Once again, we have a big area where it's not so interesting. So all of this and all of this. I like the color of the background. So we're gonna crop that way. Is it a problem that we keep this gray? I don't think so, because it goes well with the color of the nudibranch. So we're probably gonna have to do it like this. Okay, so we have this area that is not interesting. So with M, we're gonna select and try to get rid of it. I mean, not completely, but what we can do is take off some saturation, some white, some shadows, some highlights. Get rid of a couple of dots here that are annoying. This one, this one, this one, this white thing. Those are small rocks, but they grab the attention, and we want to concentrate on the nudibranch and not the foreground. One here a little bit. Okay, and now maybe we want to try to get our subject to pop a little bit more. So we're gonna select it, do O to C, Alt, up, remove here. Like I said, I don't want to go more than the animal. Less is not an issue so much, but more looks very bad. Maybe a little bit. Okay. Okay. Do O. And maybe add saturation because we want the animal to pop more. A little bit contrast. A little bit highlight. Darken the dark. And now you see that all of the nudibranch is much brighter and much more colorful, while the background is still the same. So you see, the background is the same here, and actually the front a little bit less colorful, but the animal is much brighter and much more colorful. Why? You're gonna say that, of course, he's gonna put some vignetting, and you're right, I'm gonna try, even though on this one I'm just gonna keep it very subtle because I don't want to lose the pastel feeling of this picture. I don't want to be too dark and concentrate only on the subject. So I think it's much nicer now than it was. The nudibranch is nicer, the background is not bothering anymore, so I like the transformation. Why? To get out. Next picture. A nice skeleton shrimp. And I think we had the same problem than we had with this one. I think this one was lit with probably the red light because Bruno didn't want to get the skeleton shrimp scared probably during a night dive or maybe even daytime. So he put some red light, but then even when the strobe started, but probably the power of the red focus light was too high and get the whole picture to have this pink feeling. Is it a problem? Not really. And actually I'm gonna keep it like this. And this white thing, I don't know what it is, but it looks like the moon or something. And it's definitely not a problem on this picture. Let's try to change the composition a bit. I think it's quite nice. Let's do a little bit more shadows and a little bit more black to get more contrast. You can press Alt and see if the blacks are clipping. Here it's only clipping here and there, but it doesn't seem to be a problem. It's a little bit too much. Yeah, let's get where it doesn't clip, so it's only yellow. And I think it's interesting because with those two cursors we get quite a lot of contrast back, but we're keeping the atmosphere of the picture, even if it's not really supposed to be red like this or pink. But I think it's not a problem. You know, like, I don't know how it's called in English, but in French we have some drawings that are called sanguine, and it's all in the reddish, bloodish kind of color. Maybe a little vignetting on this one because we have disturbing things everywhere. And it's gonna make us concentrate again much more on the subject.
I'm trying to get rid of this in a bit. There's more here, but I don't know if I can get it out. Look at this. Yeah, that's better.
We have a little noise issue. And now we don't. Okay, let's see the Y before and after. So more contrast, more focused on the animal. And I think it's interesting. I mean, it's art, you know? And art, you can decide what you like and what you want to do. So there was a choice of having a pinkish picture. Do I want to get rid of this pink? I can do it like this. Or I can even Control Z. Or I can even decide that this is white and get it like this. But we lose a lot. And I think by having it pink, it's not a problem. So, interesting. Very interesting picture. Okay, I corrected 8 pictures, so I think it's gonna be good for today. Don't hesitate to send me some of your pictures. I really would like to redo this, and I want to do it with your pictures. It's fun to correct your own pictures and you want to try to get it better and the way you like, but it's really interesting for me to get some other underwater photographers' pictures. I'm thinking also on a concept on underwater video, but it's gonna be more difficult and I would need more input. So if you have any idea on how to do something with video, it would be cool. I was kind of thinking that people could send me some of their best shots underwater, but that need improvement on color grading and things like this, and try to make it a short clip, adding music and putting them together. But unfortunately, I would need quite a lot of footage, so I don't know if I'll be able to get it from you. Okay. Thank you very much for watching this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.